Good morning, agus fáilteach anseo OTB AM, Maidin de Hína an tochtú lá go bhí warta. I've Eoin Sheahan here with me, and of course he's terrified. I'm going to start speaking to him in Irish as well.
What language is that? No, only messing. It's we tried to have a conversation in Irish a couple of weeks ago, Máire Treasa, and it didn't go well. So for after that warning sign, I'm going to steer clear of that. But modern what to you too?
Agur mil mahad.
No, top alter wrote.
You've made my day.
Fluent, absolutely fluent. How are things?
Not too bad. And we were just discussing before we came on air there that you were talking about the Arsenal match, and I was saying, well, I don't know about that because I was at Jersey Boys last night.
I kind of wish I went to Jersey Boys, or I kind of wish I did anything. You know, I don't know, maybe like anything really, other than the spectacle that I guess anybody would have watched in Rennes last night. Seeing Arsenal fall once again. Like, I'm not sure it was actually a painful experience. People who aren't Arsenal fans probably find the whole thing quite comical, but I'm not sure it's actually got to the point where comedy is just absent now, where it's actually, this is kind of sad. They keep finding new ways of disappointing everybody. Like the highlight for me last night, or perhaps the low light, was the yellow card, the first yellow card that Socrates picked up for Arsenal. And he did something which I've never seen a footballer do, and he slide tackled the footballer with his torso. He just went down and,
how do you even do that?
I don't know how you do it. Like, people were saying it was a harsh yellow card and all that sort of stuff. But if you get your body into a position where you're taking down somebody with your chest on the ground, then I think you're in a pretty poor position right there, and I think a yellow card is deserved. But yeah, 3-1 down, and fairly disappointing beginning to the weekend, I guess, if you're an Arsenal fan, or if that persuasion.
So you probably should have gone to Jersey Boys. It was way better. I was just telling Eoin here, like Frankie Valli, there are tunes that soundtrack of my life. I didn't even know it. It was just brilliant.
What do you mean by that? As in, like, every tune you heard was like, this is right, this is for me, was written,
every
and it could
tune
be for me.
you've heard them growing up when you've been at weddings. Okay. You've heard them at, when you go to Coppers. I mean, because Owen's always in Coppers.
I've never heard of that place.
Anytime I've been in Coppers, I've bumped into Owen.
Really?
Yeah.
Jeez,
how many times have we been there and I get a tap on the shoulder and it's you?
I've been there in a long, long time, and also I've no recollection of ever doing that, which is slightly worrying. What tunes are we talking here?
Big Boys Don't Cry.
Okay, right, okay.
Big Girls Don't Cry. I'm so tired at this point. Loads of other ones. I'm not even going to attempt them because that falsetto voice that I can't do, and it goes through his life, how the band were created, Frankie Valli, and they were the Four Seasons first, and then it became Frankie Valli, and then the issues they had with the taxman and paying off bills, and it's all done in a really compact, nice musical way. What
is the narrative thrust of Jersey Boys? What's it all about?
It's all about basically a gang of lads from Jersey, funnily enough. And they're trying to make money to basically have a better life. In and out of jail, there's a little bit of a correctional unit that they're all in and out of, and they decide, no, we're going to become famous. We're going to play proper music. They get an agent. Two of them take it much more seriously than the other two, or at least visibly more seriously. One of them is in it for the good time. Now, according to this, I'm sure really, really accurately represented musical. And the other travel around the United States start getting there. They're on National Bandstand.
Right, okay.
Yeah, they're even on National Bandstand. And it's just a great show, and it just travels through telling Frankie Valli's life, how he got married, the kids, the divorces, and one of his daughters actually died as well, so that's portrayed in it, and it's all done really, really well. And you leave at the end and everybody singing "Oh What a Night." Yeah,
wow. So it's on the Board Gosh at the moment.
It is. Anyone think I'm paid to promote this? I'm not. I went. My sister gave me a ticket to go with her. It was brilliant.
It sounds like a great one. Certainly a better option than watching Rennes against Arsenal last night, I dare say.
But you know, it's a better option as well. We are doing a special podcast at the moment for Sheahan the Gaeilge, and we have Pat Lam talking about it. We actually spoke to him yesterday afternoon. We're going to have that for you guys once that podcast is put together. Pat Lam, while not as fluent as Eoin Sheahan, is nearly there, and he speaks to us about the culture in Connacht Rugby, what he implemented, a contest Gaeilge. And you probably do know this, Eoin, lots of people do know that basically when Pat Lam came to Connacht, he decided, let's try and figure out what makes Connacht different to the other provinces, and he realised the Irish language, the culture, that's what makes them different. So he speaks to us a bit about that, and it's I think it's a really good interview, and we're going to have that on our Sheahan the Gaeilge podcast. Are you going to be on our Sheahan the Gaeilge podcast?
I don't think so. I think my audition there, as I say, was a couple of weeks ago, and to be honest with you, I kind of crumbled in the face of having to speak any Irish. It's such a shame that it would actually diminish to the point where I'm actually kind of listening to you speak Irish like I would listen to somebody speak French.
I'm picking up words here and there.
Exactly. And it's like, oh, that word rings a bell. It is very, very sad. As I said, if I sat my Leaving Cert Irish oral now, I would do well to get a D in it, to be quite honest with you. But to be honest, that's still a pass. So I think my Irish is passable.
Exactly.
But I've got higher standards than that.
Well, look, if you hang around with me, Tommy and Darren Cleary, we'll make sure we'll pass you in your
I've heard the two lads are incredible.
Now, Also, today is March 8th, it's International Women's Day, and we're all aware by now of the Irish 20 by 20 campaign. And here's just a little video to give you a reminder. Or maybe we don't. No, it's okay. That's okay, Eoin. We'll continue. I won't keep testing you on your Irish language. Okay. That's not fair on a Friday morning. So you have a choice. We can talk about... Oh, and there's my headphones gone out as well. It's totally Friday morning. So Women's Day, International Women's Day, 20 by 20. We have a brilliant show planned for you as well. We've got some... we have Katie McCabe coming in. We have Louise Quinn coming in. We're previewing the rugby as well with Ronan O'Gara. We've all that coming up. I'm not going to make you talk about Arsenal either, because that's also not fair. So 20 by 20 so far, how do you think it's been going?
Yeah, pretty good. Like, to be fair, when we got Louise Quinn and Katie McCabe in later on, their Arsenal team are faring a little bit better than the men's version at the moment, so no real issue talking about them, to be quite honest. Yeah, like 20 by 20, it's a great concept. We've got plenty of coverage coming up around that today and indeed this evening. I'm not sure how much we can actually reveal about this evening's show, because there's a special edition of it coming your way for the crappy quiz and all that sort of thing. But like it's a programme that was implemented a couple of months ago. There's something that Off the Ball has been well involved in, and the media as a whole has been involved in. You can see it across all the newspapers today and things like that. And I guess it's something that we've been focusing on quite a bit on the show over the last couple of years as well. And you're starting to see green shoots, I think, in that.
Yeah, definitely. We have the papers here as well, and I have the Irish Independent with mirrors of a quick preview here. And obviously, a lot of it is going to be rugby based. We Stander and Ringrose return for French mission. We have that there. And also we have Gunners Blowout. Owen's already given us the account of how terrible that was last night. So I don't think we need to go through that. Like
it really was. Hatem Ben Arfa plays for Rennes, which was kind of one of those moments where you're watching Europa League and you're like, oh, that guy showed up there. He's still in the process of suing Paris Saint-Germain for the way he left the club, who, of course, he left the club during Unai Emery's time there. So he had a little bit of an incentive when he was suing the club that he was managed by when the opposition manager was up against him last night. So that gave him a bit of an extra edge. The fact is, this actually just kind of creates a tie. Like, Bate Borisov did the same thing to Arsenal in the first leg in the previous round. Granted, a worse team, and it was a smaller margin, but it made the second leg far more of a palatable prospect, which you don't often get in the Europa League. So 3-1, I think, actually sets it up nicely. And, like, would you be surprised if Rennes come to the Emirates and Arsenal smash them and then, you know, go out with a whimper in the next round? I probably wouldn't. That is the most silver lining take I've ever taken on what sounded like one of the most terrible games to watch of a Thursday night. Oh no, the game to watch, I'm talking purely from an Arsenal perspective, it was a terrible one to watch. It was actually a pretty good game. It was fairly exciting, and that stadium in Rennes actually looked like it was hopping. What I never understand though is they made, what do they call that? The crowd created artistry in the stands, where everybody's given a sheet of paper, yeah. And they hold it up and they make that. It was kind of like a wall of green. But the thing is, when you give fans a sheet of paper or kind of a piece of card, you can crumple it up and throw it. And every time Arsenal got a corner, it was just pelting green and white balls at this guy or whoever was taking the penalty. So I thought that was a bit unfair and a bit maybe cynical from the Rennes chairman or whoever's idea that was. I've often wondered, you know, exactly those kind of crowd art, when you give people these bits of paper and you tell them hold them up, like, that's very difficult to coordinate. You're relying on 40,000 people to do what they're told. Yeah, especially for an evening game when they've been on the pints all evening, and it's like, yeah, hold up that sheet of paper there for a few minutes while we get a nice picture. I would never trust a bunch of football fans, but I think it actually did look quite good from a Rennes perspective last night. Kind of one of those, I don't want to say a sleeping giant. I think this is probably as they're probably getting close to their summit in terms of European football at the moment, but yeah, no. Yeah. Like, I've never actually been to a game where they've put something under your seat and tell you to do it, so I've often wondered, like, I assume you're told this is the time everyone lift them up, so there has to be somebody on. What about an Irish rugby game? No, never. I've never been to, if I have, I've missed it. Right, okay. I've never ever been told to hold something up at a game. But it's not exactly holding something up, but you obviously get those flags in the Aviva Stadium sometimes for the Irish rugby team. Oh, the dangerous flags. They are quite, like, it depends. Anything is dangerous. It depends how you use it. I guess you could use these flags as a weapon, but wasn't that what Leinster fans were told when they went somewhere there a few weeks ago? I can't remember where they went. They were told they weren't allowed to use their flags, right? Because they were deemed to be, because obviously it was tried to make sure that the stadium wasn't as blue as it could be. Ah, well, psychology. That's I'm sure that was a 7-point difference there, right there. Speaking of Leinster and Ireland, we have the Times Ireland edition, and we have O'Brien to be dropped for the French clash, and also a picture there of a jubilant-looking Solskjaer. Why wouldn't he? So yeah, the Sean O'Brien story keeps rolling on, and McCarthy as well will meet
Bamford. So he closes on recruiting Patrick Bamford, apparently.
Yeah, he got ghosted there for ages, didn't he?
Yeah, very
Bamford
much
just
so.
wasn't replying to his texts. Some people are just like that, you know.
They are.
Whenever anybody says to you, oh, sorry, I'm a disaster for getting back to text, you know, it's just one of those personality faults I have, never believe them. They just don't want to reply to you. And I'm sure Mick sees through that. I'm sure he has the knowledge of how texting works.
How often does this happen to you, Eoin? I feel like this is a wound we've just opened up.
I don't want to bring broken hearts live to the air this morning, Máire, Treasa, but all I'm saying is just a word of advice to Mick McCarthy is don't believe Patrick Bamford when he says, oh, sorry, I don't check my phone that often.
I'm the opposite. I open my phone and be bombarded.
Like, it's a very good trait to have, the Patrick Bamford trait. You can get away without talking to anybody, really, and just say, oh, you know, that's just me. I'm just a little bit aloof. But
is there nothing more annoying, though, you know, when you send somebody a WhatsApp and it's two little ticks and then you see them go blue and you've asked a question and they don't reply and you know they've seen it?
Well, even worse than that is they go typing and then they stop and then they don't respond at all.
Yeah.
That's just really... I'm not sure, maybe Mick McCarthy will get asked about that eventually. Did Patrick Bamford's ticks go blue? And did he go to typing at one stage? That's what I want to know.
I want to know. We have to ask Stephen Doyle to make sure he asks that, or Nathan next time they're out.
For sure.
Reading up with it. We have here the Irish Examiner, and speaking of Mick McCarthy, a brilliant picture here of Mick McCarthy. I love the photos the Examiner use. I always use great photos. They really illustrate what they're talking about. And on the back pages, obviously, we're looking toward the... we've a picture here of Smoking Gun and Rachel Blackmore, who is... just lighting up horse racing at the moment. She's just a wonderful ambassador for sport in general, not just women's sport. And it's just Mick McCarthy's mission. McCarthy's certain he can unlock the goals in Irish squad. And I also have the Herald here, which is 4 years for Ole, which is of course the big talking point this week after their miraculous resurrection out in PSG. And I don't have the Irish Times with us here. I think we may have a digital edition. It may pop up.
No, we don't have that.
No, we don't. That's okay. Well, Owen, you move on.
We'll get that up in a moment. I'm going to move on to the Irish Daily Mail this morning. It's pressure on. Euro campaign is McCarthy's driving force. That's Philip Quinn's headline. And a great picture there of Mesut Ozil. Arsenal floored by lowly Rennes as they beat them 3-1. Chelsea getting the 3-0 win over Dynamo Kiev last night. And no fear for Les Bleus, says Fiku. That's Hugh Fardy saying that France insists they have no fear facing the Grand Slam champions in Dublin, despite Ireland coach Joe Schmidt bringing back a host of big names for Sunday's Six Nations showdown. Now, the back page of the Mirror goes with this story. Half the cash, twice the boss. Solskjaer is set to be offered a United job on 50% of what Mourinho was paid. And I might actually just skip right on to the Irish Daily Star, because they go with this headline: not half bad. Bargain basement Solskjaer to bag United job. Now, bargain basement, I have a problem with that phrase, because we are using Jose Mourinho to judge how much Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is worth. Now, would you call somebody on a €7.5 million salary bargain basement? I probably wouldn't. Now, the fact that Jose Mourinho was on €17.5 million, it probably is.
So was he overpaid, or
totally
will Ole
overpaid.
Gunnar Solskjaer, will he potentially be underpaid?
Totally overpaid, but like, I don't know, maybe it could be construed to say this is another reason why Jose Mourinho is the worst man in the world. It's the reason why Jose Mourinho has the best agent in the world, in George Mendes, and he's done extremely well. Any manager, no matter what your reputation is, if you're getting close to €20 million a year as a manager, you're doing bloody good. And I think Solskjaer would bite your hand off for £8 million. Doesn't really bother him though. He wants to get not the profile out of this. This is the job of his life. This is the biggest opportunity of his career, and he's taken the opportunity so far with two hands. The backing from the dressing room has been incredible. The fact that Lukaku has come out, Lingard has come out and saying, basically, give him the job now. You rarely see that. You rarely see that even when things are going well under an interim manager, do you hear the players actually saying, give this guy the job. You often hear, oh, things are good, we'll wait and see what happens. But in the Old Trafford dressing room right now, it seems that the players are like, no, we want this guy right here, this guy's good. And it just is testament to how brilliant a job he's done on the pitch, and indeed creating a brilliant mood in the dressing room. The Sun leads with goal rush. Mick strikes right note, so Mick McCarthy's named his first Ireland squad. It's the initial squad, so I don't want to say everybody gets in, because it's like a great moment for someone like Paul Drugamond to be even involved in this conversation. It is the next one though, it is the matchday squad. I think he's going to bring a lighter than usual squad to Gibraltar as well, so it's going to be a ruthless enough cull at the next round. The Racing Post then goes with Canaries may take flight in second half. It's the back page anyway. It's Norwich against Swansea tonight at 7:45. The front page, as you can imagine, is looking ahead to Cheltenham, and it goes with a Colin Tizzard angle. Tizzard welcomes rain for his trio in Gold Cup. So the going at the moment, yesterday in Cheltenham anyway, was good to soft in places. And this, of course, will suit Colin Tizard quite well. Native River, as you can remember, last year won the Gold Cup in atrocious conditions. He's gone with a pretty strong field for the Gold Cup. It looks like Native River, as I mentioned already. Elegant Escape is going to be in there. And Thistlecrack is also going to be involved in the Gold Cup. Just from memory, Thistlecrack, I think, was like anti-post favourite before the Gold Cup 2 years ago and then got injured and went down. So it's a big moment for him. It's a big moment for the Tizard clan once again. He obviously favours soft ground, and it looks like it's going to be going that way at Cheltenham next week. It's a racing story as well, leading the way in The Guardian. Get back up, get stronger, get out there. Bryony Frost on her return from injury and bid for Cheltenham glory. She's spoken to a journalist in The Guardian, and I kind of want to just touch on this for just a moment. It's Chris Cook who she's spoken to, and the headline inside the newspaper is, "I've never thought this isn't worth it, this pain." We were talking about CJ Standermore Treasa on the show yesterday morning about how he's got this insane relationship with pain, how his pain threshold is unlike anything we've ever seen, and it's kind of typical for rugby players in a certain position. But then you talk about jockeys, and jockeys are just ridiculous. And she tells a story about being a child in Devon. Herself and her brother, they used to pull each other off their ponies while moving at speed so that they could practice falling. That is lunacy. That is absolute lunacy. Yeah. She says, now this is when they cite a previous interview. She spoke to The Guardian in 2017, and she was hospitalised for 2 months at the age of 15 when injuries from a fall led to septicemia that nearly killed her. Nothing too bad, she said. It gave me a chance to lose a bit of my puppy fat. You know, that's what goes through most people's minds when they get septicemia.
No, not imminent death.
Yeah, exactly.
If they're even conscious to be worrying about death, they're certainly not worrying about puppy fat.
No, absolutely not. Like, it's a good interview. It's obviously Bryony Frost has become a household name in racing at the moment. I didn't realise that no woman's won a Grade 1 race at the festival so far. You'd imagine if it's going to drop some year, it's going to drop soon, and potentially even next week. She talks about Frodon. The horse, I think I was expecting her to ride in the Gold Cup, but it seems that Frodon is going to be switched to Thursday's Ryanair Chase. But that, of course, is a Grade 1 as well. So perhaps Bryony Frost on Frodon could be the first time a woman wins a Grade 1 race at Cheltenham.
Hope she doesn't fall off or push herself off, or her brother comes up alongside and gives her a push off.
Let's hope it's a septicemia-free week for everybody at Cheltenham next week. And finally for me, the Telegraph goes with Arsenal. There is Socrates. Gunners staring down the barrel as Rennes beat them 3-1, and also Solskjaer certain to be United manager. That's Lukaku and Shaw leading the calls for Norwegian to be given Old Trafford job after Paris miracle.
Great, okay, well that's the papers. We've got a brilliant show coming up for you today, as you can see on our display here. Arsenal and Ireland stars Katie McCabe and Louise Quinn, they're coming into the studio very shortly, so stay with us. We've got a really special Dadcast coming up as well, I suppose because it is International Women's Day, they're keeping an eye on how things go for their daughters in life. We're previewing the rugby. We've got Ronan O'Gara and we've got Alan Quinlan as well. We're also got French legend Serge Betsen, did I say? Sorry, my words are going out of me. He's here after 9 o'clock. And we'll also be joined in studio by Máire O'Connor and Sarah Colgan. They're two of the driving forces behind Ireland 20 by 20. And this is International Women's Day on Off the Ball. We're asking you to show your stripes and make a pledge toward one action towards supporting women and girls in sport.
I normally do Cristiano Ronaldo's celebration. It's where he runs to the corner, turns around and then goes... I love sweating. I don't know why, it just feels good. It makes me feel like I'm on top of the world. Get to be rough sometimes. I like that. To me, football's just football. Yeah, they always go like, oh, you're only girls, you aren't fast, you aren't tough and all. And like, we're actually quite tough. I'm quite a tough person. I think one day we'll probably get there. Maybe in 10 years, if we're lucky, we might. Yeah. I'm going off to play a football match now.
Yeah, and you can of course check out 20 by 20 and the Federation of Irish Sport for more. We'll be chatting about it throughout the show this morning on OTB AM. So please get your comments in and let us know what you're doing to show your stripes. Now, football next here on OTB AM, and first we'll hear from Irish manager Mick McCarthy on the two lower league strikers he's included in his latest provisional squad.
Just on some of the players that you mentioned just before there who are playing below the second tier in English football, do you think they're players who are capable of playing at a higher level, or is it just a case where Ireland have to accept now that, you know, we maybe have to recruit a lower standard of player?
I think that's a little bit unfair anyway, in your quote as a lower standard of player. I'm talking about players who are playing at their level and they're scoring goals. And I don't think that can be easily dismissed, to be quite honest with you. And both of them, if we're talking about James Collins and Podrick Hammond, have had good seasons. And I think that should be recognised in the fact that I've called them up, as opposed to sort of insulting them, which I'm not going to do.
Yeah, no, that's what I just want to know, if you think they're capable of playing at a higher level, is, you know, maybe this could help them.
I think that if you've got somebody in a rich vein of form, goal scorers, you may just require that at some stage, and putting somebody on who's not scored 20 goals a season, I'd soon have somebody, if I know a chance falls to him, he might just put it in the net, and that's what I'm looking at. And you know what, who knows, we've seen, I bet you didn't have your money on Podrick Hammond scoring too, did you, in the games he's played, in the two teams he played against?
I did, but
could you show me that betting slip?
Just to finish then as well, because obviously we're going to be hosting games here, Mick, do you think, is there more pressure on you now to qualify in this tournament?
I don't think there can be any more pressure put on, is there, than I put on myself, to be quite honest, in terms of doing it. But there'll be a great expectancy now that we've got games here. And yeah, of course it does add a little bit to it, because it'll be a lot better tournament if we're in it.
That's for sure. It would be a lot better tournament if they were in it. We're joined now in studio by not one but two very special guests, Ireland and Arsenal players. We've got Katie McCabe and Louise Quinn. Madam, you're really welcome. Thanks a million for coming in to join us this morning.
Yeah, no problem.
We're just discussing, we came in on air last night, we have to ask you the Arsenal game last night. Eoin's already ripped it apart, so you guys can be more polite. Were you having a peep at it?
Yeah, I had a bit of a look at it, and I think just going down to 10 men so early, just kind of made it really hard for us. And then I think they kept trying to attack where they should have just, tried to keep the score at 2-1, because I think if they bring that back to the Emirates, not a problem. But 3-1 is proven difficult, I think. Yeah,
but at the same time, could have been worse.
Could always be worse. But it could have, as you mentioned there, you were just saying off air about Niall Quinn's different parish comment about Nacho Monreal. It is beyond belief that there is a professional football outfit that at 2-1 down, they realise the way the momentum is going. I'm not sure if you've been in that situation where you realise the momentum is against you. There is a situation where damage limitation is such a big thing here. And
I think that's when you're just right, let's go, just stay compact and don't concede anymore, especially how tough it is away from home at times. It is all to play for now at the Emirates next Thursday, I think it is. But it's Arsenal Football Club. They can turn it around. They have the players to do so. So hopefully they get the job done next week.
And that's something you yourselves have had, I suppose, experience with. As I've watched a lot of your home games when you were playing out in Tala and stuff, and you were playing teams that were just brilliant teams, and you had to do that whole thing of, do we need to sit back now? Do we need to protect? And once you had your break, to try and make the most of it. It's very, very difficult when you're an onslaught coming at you time after time after time.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think the Netherlands was a big one for that. Playing the European champions, obviously the calibre of players they have. So when we have to sit back and defend, it's great having the likes of Leanne Kiernan, who's as fast as lightning to get onto the end of a ball. But no, it is difficult, and it does require obviously a lot of concentration and stuff like that. But we did it over there.
I think we've improved it the other day. So we were just doing where we played Wales in a couple of friendlies, and in the second game it was I suppose a poor kind of first half from us, but they were just high pressing us. We had a lot of it was hard to get the ball under control, and but we held on into the dressing room, and kind of one of the main things that we were happy about was that we didn't concede, and we were like, this is it, we kept ourselves in the game. That wasn't good enough, but we're still in it. And then second half, then that was it. We got control of the game, dominated, and then we were able to win the game then. So
who scored, Lou?
Some tall centre back beauty with the
Quinn on the end of it. Now Tyler put a great ball in, obviously from a set piece, and that's the chances we get, and the chances we're going to get in the campaign, whether it is a set piece or an in-play goal, and we have obviously the likes of Louise here to finish them off, and the little Tyler to put them on our head. And so no, it was we showed great character in the second half to obviously keep it 0-0 at half time, put what we done wrong, not forget about it, but and obviously put it right to get the 1-0 win.
That's something. Oh, sorry, no, go on.
I was just going to say, like, how big a focus is that now, the campaign? Because it is still a bit away yet. It is August, I think, before it actually kicks off. Germany are obviously going to be the ones that everybody's eyes on. Like, is it them you're focusing on at the moment, or is it more like Ukraine, who might actually be yourselves against Ukraine for the second seed, or am I completely writing you off already?
I think, obviously getting the Germans, it doesn't scare me as much, obviously, because we played the likes of the Netherlands and Norway in the last campaign. But with campaigns, it's pretty much take each game as it comes. You can't underestimate anyone at international level. So obviously our opening game against Montenegro will be just as big as Germany in 2020 next year.
Like, was there, in a weird way, a sense of hope after the Netherlands results last year, the Norway results? They were tight games, like I guess looking back on them, there was a couple of moments where it could have turned a small bit, but ultimately, if you looked at those two teams, you're like, there's not that much of a gulf between these two sides, so it has been kind of a step up over the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think just how organised we were able to stay, and at the same time we did create chances, especially in the second Norway game. We actually kind of walked away from that being like, we either could have drew it or we could have won it. We actually almost had Leanne literally ran past a good chunk of their defenders from our half and literally went one-on-one. So they're just the big moments that can win or lose your games. And we have a young squad. We are growing each game and each camp. But hopefully now we'll start the next camp.
And you can see Colin Bell expecting it off you as well. Like, it's not just they're out. He's not expecting you to just show up. Like, he really demands. You can tell, like, when we watch you guys train and in his post-match interviews, he means it. Like, when he says you're well on your way. Like, and you can tell he absolutely believes it, because we've all seen these coaches and these managers who say they believe it but they don't. But you can tell with Colin, he really does.
He's a winner, and he's really instilled that in us, because sometimes we definitely did go through where we were just like, that was close, like a nice Irish thing, that was a good effort, we almost got there,
that'd be great, to be as good as that.
You can get them next time, whereas he's like, no, we've got to be doing better there. You've got to not just be like, that was great, be disappointed, take it, and then take it forward into other games, because as we've shown, we're well able to keep ourselves in games and create chances, and he's definitely instilled that winning mentality all the time.
How much does that come from, like, what you guys are bringing as well from an Arsenal perspective? Because you go back a couple of months ago, the treble was on the cards, and I'm sure there's still a bit of disappointment there, particularly around the League Cup final, that ultimately they're the standards that you hold yourselves to. And I know it's not based in Ireland, though, that set of standards, but it doesn't help that there's an international standard that is coming back home here and helping everybody come up a level.
I think obviously ourselves, the likes of Denise, the professional players, bringing that mentality back into the girls is great. But in saying that, obviously, we are doing well over in England at the minute, but it's not to say our Irish-based girls can't have that either, which they do, which is great for us. But yeah, it's a good one, obviously, for us being in the position we're in. Obviously, at Arsenal, we've had a great season. I'm still gutted. I know you are too, Lou, about getting knocked out of the FA Cup so early on, and then obviously the cup final we were distraught over. But we still have the league to play for. We still have Champions League qualification to hopefully nail down, and we've a big run in now of games in the next six games.
The league table actually up there now on the screen, and that's the thing. You're 2 points off Man City, am I right? But they've got 2 games in hand. Is that right? And
we have 2 games in hand.
2 games in hand. Yeah, because I was listening to Emma Hayes. She was speaking here earlier this week about her experiences in Chelsea, and she was talking about how she's still has a huge rivalry against Arsenal. She was talking about how the FA Super League has just gotten so competitive, and she's really enjoying it. She goes, there's much more bite than there's ever been, and she loves it for that.
No, definitely. There's it's not just your Arsenal, your Man City and your Chelseas. It's Reading can take points off teams like Birmingham have done so to us in the past, like at really pinnacle times in the season. So it is having the quality and teams bringing in big players to the league. It's great, and it's obviously pushing us as players too to perform week in, week out.
What do you think of the Casey Stoney project that seems to be gathering traction?
Man United.
Yeah, it's she's a formidable woman.
Yeah, she was actually at like a talk for the 20 by 20, and was speaking away. And I'd never met her personally before. That I had played against her a couple of times, and she's just so she was in the assistant coach role in England, and I think just to get this offer to go to United was, one of the best things she could do. And I think the club, from what I've heard, have, maybe why it took so long for them to create a women's team. And, a lot of people were complaining and moaning, like, how can this big club not have a women's team? They were literally just putting everything into place. They were getting everything right, setting it up, making sure that when they're doing it right. And you can see that they have so far. And I think everything from facilities to the management then that they have got in. Yeah. So, she's...
You can tell they're doing obviously great things as well. They're not obviously doing really well in the WSL2, but they're challenging teams then in WSL1. Like, they're beating teams in WSL1. So you can only imagine then when they do obviously eventually come
you feel like it's not going to take that long. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, definitely. So we played them recently in the Conti Cup. And it was 2-1, and which is obviously them. We don't want them scoring against us, but no, they did well, and they've a great set of players there that can only bring the club forward in the future.
Yeah, and obviously you're with Arsenal now. I'd imagine obviously the whole international team is there, but I'm sure right now your focus is very much on that Super League and getting over that disappointment of the last few weeks and reshaping and re-gearing. It can't be the easiest.
No, it's obviously what's important now is to just stay fit and on top of your game. In these coming weeks, I think we've 3 games in March now, Leo, and they say March is obviously a big month because then even in the men's game too, obviously with Liverpool at the minute, Leo. Big Liverpool fan here.
Oh really?
Yeah, with Leo. Yeah.
I just need to keep the bottle now. Hold the nerve.
Are you worried about their bottle as well? Because there's lots of people saying don't be at Liverpool. They're not nervous. It's just no team can stay wonderful throughout a whole season. It's just a glitch. But people say
there's
no.
Definitely a couple of results you can look at where they got like some draws, like Everton, United. You can kind of take that, but it's
West Ham as
it
well,
was the West Ham and Leicester. That's where you just that's where you should be. Just taking the points there. But I don't know, maybe they'll kind of enjoy it now that they have a little bit of a chase. Because they're not entirely used to being in this position in the last few years either. So,
but you yourselves, when you're playing, do you prefer to be playing to be chasing something, or do you prefer to be a bit comfortable?
I think I'd like to be on top of the ladder. I think I'd like to have them 2 games in hand played already and have the 6 points on top of Man City going into the end of the season. That's, for me, I'd rather that than, not to say like it's good to obviously to be in the position we're in, but no, I think I'd definitely have the 6 points tucked in.
How sweet would it be to actually knock Manchester City off the perch, given what happened in the league final?
I'm saying that with a big smile. I'm smiling at the thoughts of it. No, I'd thoroughly enjoy that. I think it's just the way we started our season so well, and we have been unfortunate with long-term injuries to really key players in our squads. But no, it would be great to knock them off.
Last game of the season as well. We played them at home.
Yeah, May 12th.
Yeah.
That's going to be incredible. You must absolutely hate the sight of Manchester City now. That blue jersey must just give you some sort of nightmare.
Just all over, coming at all angles. Baby blue. No, don't like it.
Katie, I must ask you, because it's the first time we've had you in studio since, and you're probably sick of talking about it now, is the assist in January, which went viral all around the world, I think, at that point. Because I think it was it the same week that Messi did an incredible pass against Getafe or something, and I was like, who's actually done the best? Who's actually the best pass in Cleary or Lino?
Do you know what? Because obviously it was 1-1. It was Birmingham again, as I said, like they give you, especially us, a really tough game anytime we play them. So I think we had in our head, it's right, it's going to go into extra time here. Like we need to kind of really dig deep. I remember getting the ball off Lou. I think it was.
Maybe,
were you playing left side of centre half?
Maybe, yeah.
But I just seen the gap open up between Birmingham's right back and right centre half, and then obviously when you've a player like Viv on the end of it, she finishes it off, and I think you could see me sprint then about 100 miles an hour after it went in. But no, it was great. It was a great end to the game, and I think we deserved
that was class.
To get to.
I don't think we kind of realised, because we were really pushing, to kind of get forward and to try not make it go to extra time. So we were like, oh yeah, Viv, like brilliant finish, and then we all come in the next day or that night and we're like, Katie, that assist.
It's the camera
we
angle,
kind of just didn't almost know it at the time.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It was just like, great ball, but it was like,
I just remember I didn't honestly care about the pass, but when Viv touched it wide of the keeper, I was like, oh my God, please just slot this in. I thought she had went too wide, but she scored it in the end, and we went through.
It's a lot worse people you could have on the end of a pass.
Oh, exactly.
I think we hear people talking about like inch perfect. I think we have it up here now. It wasn't. It was better than inch perfect. It was millimetre perfect.
Look, there's me sprinting. I was just
the fastest. Her GPS went up then.
I was delighted.
Look at that space. Like, it's just. I suppose that's the vision that footballers have that we normal people will never have. That you were there and you saw that space and you're like, I'm
only
just going
some
to
footballers, I don't see that. No, like, glasses on and everything, I can't see that.
You can score ahead, I can't see it.
Well, she does have a vertical advantage on you. I always call myself the vertically challenged. Like, but see, with your case, you may be more vertically challenged, but you can see the spaces and you go for it. Like, just that vision, it's something I can't even put into words, that people like you have just, it's not 3D, it's a different vision that you just, and it could have all gone so wrong, but it didn't.
Yeah, no, I think it's doing these things in training as well, like practicing what you're going to do on the weekend too. Like there was like, hey, you crossing balls into me, will you, at the end of every training session, so she's heading them in, and then obviously when we're doing that at Arsenal together and then she's scoring the winner against Wales, I'll happily cross as many balls as she wants in. So it's just putting it into practice on the training pitch, and and getting wins like we did during the week, which is great.
But it sounds of things as well, the manager is the type of fella who you try that sort of thing and he applauds you for it rather than trying something, and if it doesn't come off, he's not going to give out to you for it.
Yeah, he's a great guy, Joe, isn't he?
Yeah, really, really just very normal, do you know what I mean? And just wants us, to go and express ourselves, and maybe if that pass didn't work out, it just wouldn't have been too much of a problem. It was high up the pitch, it was this, that and the other, and he's just, he just lets you, like he definitely has some style rules we have, that how he wants us to play, and he's like, if you execute all of these, you'll at least get like, a 6 or 7 out of 10 about how you played. If you just do that, do these basics that I wanted to do.
So it's not too rigid a philosophy then?
Like we know. Yeah, I suppose it's not too rigid. We like to switch up formations in a phase of play. Literally as we're going forward, we'll change formation. Then when we slip back into defence, again we're changing. So it's all, it's not rigid at all. It can be.
It's very fluid. He does like even,
and he leaves a lot up to us. As well.
And position wise, like he likes players being able to play in different positions, and I think I've played nearly every position.
I was going to ask, what is your best position? Do you like
it? I'll be honest with you, I really don't know anymore. I played the 10 away with Ireland, and I quite enjoyed that, being higher up the pitch. But that's the thing, like I don't mind. I'll go in and do a job wherever it may be. Sometimes it's beside Leo as a left back, and Leo hates me. She's like, yeah, tuck in. And now she keeps me on my toes when I have to play at the back. But
that's probably your instinct kicking in, because you seem
I
to
just like going forward.
Yeah.
But Leo was there pulling me back. No, it's great, and he has. We've done really, really well this season. So we are just looking to end things on a high, and hopefully go on and win the league.
Speaking about ending things on a high, I'm afraid we do have to wrap things up here, and we are. I know you yourself in particular. You've been very, very I'm losing all my words this morning, at least because I was listening to Jersey Boys last night. But yeah, you've been very involved in the 20 by 20 campaign. So what do you think, how's it been going so far? Has it made a difference? I suppose most importantly, that's the big question, isn't it?
Like, I think so. Like, in terms of definitely social media coverage, you know, I think it really has just kicked off. Every few pictures I'm seeing of just, you know, any sports people maybe that I know, they're all just getting involved. And, you know, I have people coming up to me and saying they're doing all these initiatives now, especially in schools. And yeah, I think it's even just, it's in the back of our minds now, or a bit more maybe in the front of our minds, but even just to put ourselves forward, to be that role model. Do you know what I mean? We're getting opportunities, and, you know, I definitely want all the Irish girls to put themselves forward and, you know, be that role model and make themselves known, because when, you know, when they're there, people will...
It's possible. Like, you're obviously doing it over in England at the minute. You've the girls here in Ireland, you've Sarah Rowe representing over the other side of the world. So it is possible, and I think the 2020 campaign is to just show girls you can do it, and you can be who you want to be, whether it's a gal player or a footballer, and having role models like Louise and Sarah Rowe, and yeah, it just shows it's possible.
Yeah. Well, exactly, and Katie McCabe is that. But I mean, this is the thing though, I know sometimes people may not realise it, especially for you, because you guys have made it, but without, I suppose, really having any female role models growing up, in nothing huge compared to what girls have today, and it's still probably not enough.
Yeah, and that's it, and it's just about putting them in show, as the hashtag is, can't see it, can't be it, and I totally believe that. And, you know, there's kind of at the moment only, I think, one athlete that really, really made her own was Katie Taylor. You know, she really had no female boxer to be, but when she was a kid, she was saying, I'm going to win Olympic gold. And it's like, well, who was she maybe aspiring towards? And she was like, no, but this is what I like. So she created her own role model, and I think then we're all just kind of, we're now following that, you know, that example. After that movie, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's the thing with Katie Taylor. Like, not only is she inspiring, I think, girls to go into boxing, but boys, but I think she's also inspiring women in general to take a step up, and this is what you want to do, go get it. And she's epitome of, you don't have to be aggressive, you don't have to be pushy, you can make your way politely and diligently in this world by just following your focus.
I think you'd know her better than I would in terms of her as a quiet person. She doesn't, you would obviously know her better.
Yeah, you kind of just, you know, nailed it there. She knows what she wants, and, you know, whatever kind of way it takes her to get there, she'll get there. But for her, she's just being herself. She's quietly going about, you know, about her training and about her way at times, and then when it's coming to these, you know, big fights, and it's all about the, you know, you even see you're pushing the promotion, and you see all the trash talk that the other boxers are doing, and she's just like, let's just go.
Yeah,
I'll show you in the ring.
It's mad, isn't it, that especially the way combat sports has gone, that somebody can actually stand out from the crowd by pure talent alone, because that seems to be the way that it must actually be a real temptation for her to actually say, geez, I wonder would I actually be an even bigger profile if I started talking shy to my opponents. But she actually hasn't sunk to that level.
I don't think that's appealing to her at all.
Not at all.
Oh no, she just shows and leads by example, and that's just always kind of been her mentality. Just keep the head down, do what I do, and then when it comes to the big stage, I have no problem showing you what I'll do.
Okay.
She's proven.
Yeah, exactly. She's proven it. She's shown she can do it, and she's come back from that Olympic disappointment and rebuilt and to come back bigger and better than ever. Like, that takes huge character.
Yeah, no, definitely. We went as a team to watch the movie in the Lighthouse, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lighthouse. Yeah.
We all came out inspired, gunning to go.
We then had a Katie Taylor inspired meeting. Then we literally called a meeting and was like, everyone just get a cup of tea. We'll put a few biscuits out, and we'll just literally
just chat about it.
Tell us about how that movie may impact you, or how you felt. And it was actually really nice to listen to us.
Elements to the movies as well that a lot of us as players playing abroad can relate to as well. Obviously her training, her talent itself, but little things like obviously her moving away from her family over to America to train with a new trainer, and yeah, it's obviously
stuff with
like a
dad
lot of
and stuff like
people and
that.
players and stuff can relate to that. So I think that's it touches you in that sense.
It was an incredible, like you mentioned the camp over in Connecticut, the insight that you get into what actually makes a person tick in terms of how to get to the next level. I'm not sure, you were probably looking at the snowy landscape as some sort of reminder of Sweden, and sort of, I don't know what it is about that sort of landscape where it's like person running in snowy surrounds, always seems like they're going to a different level.
Definitely, yeah. I used to watch in the gym the cross-country skiers, literally when I was in Sweden, and I was like, what I'm doing, I was like, this is nowhere near as painful as what they're doing. That is like full body, just, it looks horrific, so I'd just be like running away.
On your treadmill.
Yeah.
But look, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap things up here. You can run away now and maybe do your cross there. Listen, thanks a million for coming in, ladies.
No problem
We
at
really
all.
appreciate it. Just talking about Katie Taylor there and 20 by 20. We have a very special episode of Dadcast coming up. Dadcast for Daughters on OTB AM as Ger, Nathan, Adrian, Andy Lee and Kieran Donaghy as well. They sit down and chat about their hopes for their daughters in the future.
As part of the 20 by 20 campaign, there's a new initiative today to show your stripes. So they're asking a bunch of people to post pictures of them on social media wearing the stripes and talking about how they're going to be involved in making more coverage, more attendance and more participation in women's sport. You two are both, everybody has daughters, right? Yeah. So that's why Dave's not here. It's not that he's not showing up to work anymore. How old is your daughter?
1.5 years.
Right. So not quite into sport yet.
No, kicks the football, throws the ball well.
You see, yeah?
Does a few little press-ups. Does her squats.
When she starts squatting, you know you're in trouble. You know what's coming.
So, yes. No, like obviously, I don't like this. This campaign is great, but for me, sport is such an intrinsic part of my life that it will be natural for me to have her involved in sport in every way possible. You know, and we she's a bit young yet to be going to like a loud sporting event, but whenever we can, when we have the head candies now, skull candies, she'll be going. Yeah, she'll be going to soccer matches and football and rugby and whatever is boxing matches as well.
Yeah. So you've 2 daughters?
2 daughters, yeah. Lola Rose is nearly 4. She's shooting away, throwing through the hoop around the house.
Right.
Throwing the ball, trying to get her to not actually just fling the ball up in the air because it could land anywhere. But she does aim at the basket and she can get it in a good bit. So I'm training her away there. Indy is joining in, more getting balls hopped off her head from Lola Rose's missed shots while she's crawling around the floor. But there's a little half an hour session a few evenings a week outside in the hall in the house. Yeah,
right.
So bit of crack. She enjoys it. She likes it. Taking her to sporting venues, it's easier when they're 1.5 or 2 when they start getting to they know what they want. Like Hillary's tried to take her a few games, but she just wants to run around and she wants to go to me on the basketball court at the Warriors games and stuff. And Hillary ends up getting stressed and just kind of leaving midway through the 3rd quarter when Lola Rose is roaring to watch Paw Patrol on the phone or something.
We went to the Dublin Mayo ladies football final. So when was that? 2017, and we had to leave at half time. There was the 3 of them. It was just a bad idea. It was too soon to bring 3 of them. We should have just brought the eldest, but then the other 2 would have been like so. And we were kind of up in the gods as well, and you realise that it's a little bit high here for them. So
they're not going to tune into.
Yeah, but I guess local sport is the thing to bring them to, like smaller stuff. But if you're playing and they're wandering out, that's not great.
no, not when there's 10 lunatics running around.
Great viral content though.
Smash. No, we don't want that. Don't want that for Lola Rose, and she's quite headstrong. So, it could be possible that she could wriggle free and just head straight mid-court and run into our American key jumper, who's 6'8" and about 18 stone running down the court. So yeah,
that won't end well.
No.
How old are yours?
6 months.
Right. So this hasn't become an issue just yet.
No, not just yet. The lads go to a lot of different sporting events, and they're 7 and 5, so they're still at that stage of trying to get them to sit, while also not wanting them to sit and watch their phone while they're at the event. To actually, I'd sooner leave early than have them sit there watching Paw Patrol or something just to keep them there.
Yeah.
But I would intend that fully.
What if it was a really good game?
Oof.
Paw Patrol will be out here. You're going Wednesday.
Who am I kidding here? She's she's well able to stand up for herself at this stage with 2 older brothers. There's a lot of... She's at that stage now. She likes to grab the eyes.
Okay.
She's like, right in. Or grab the ear. We have to get both...
She's going to be a cornerback.
Yeah, we got both their hair cut quite short because every time she sees them, she just grabs the lump. So yeah, I reckon she's probably going to be tougher than the 2 of them.
She'll be well-minded.
No bad thing.
I did find it weird that they separate the boys and girls under 6 in GAA. I was kind of thinking that would come later on. That actually, there's no reason for them. They're doing laps and they're playing skills. She's 7. She'll be 8 in September. So has kind of come through that. Not mad into GAA on Saturdays. Is doing it in school though and still likes it and does gymnastics, which again they separate the boys and the girls from. And I don't really understand that. It's like you're doing you're like jumping up and down and you're doing forward rolls and I don't understand.
I was going to say that the football is probably due to them having so many numbers that they can do that. I know probably in smaller clubs it'd be a case of 6s and 8s, away you go lads, play away, and it's good for girls, you know, that it's good that they're all running around together. I think
so too, because they're in school together.
Yeah, absolutely,
So where did that
differentiation, just go play. The good ones will be trying to get better and
they'll all improve each other.
Yeah,
because at that stage, like, you know, I mean, maybe there are some parents who want their under 6 and under 8 to be like the best player in the country, but most parents just want them to go out and...
I think there's a lot of parents who want their 6-year-old and their 8-year-old to be the best in the country.
Yeah.
You don't?
I don't know. It's such an alien concept to me at this point. Like,
I would say...
Although he's doing half an hour of basketball training every day, so...
Yeah.
He's like, which are the best Americans?
He's already got several advantages that we don't have, so we don't need to worry. I would say, from watching parents at football training and that, it's 50-50, that... A lot of parents are pretty hardcore in that they see their kid has a little bit of talent in it and are pushing them as hard as possible and sort of screw everybody else. Whereas the other half are just happy to see their kids
running around,
out taking part.
Yeah. How do you handle that? Like, the only experience I have was Adam Booth's daughters were playing a hockey match in school, and it was hosted by the other school, and it was the other school's teacher who was the referee, and like, it was all like... It was very one-sided in terms of the refereeing decisions that were going, you know, the opposite team's way. And I was literally boiling inside at this, you know what I mean? And like, that's not my... I can only imagine it. Like, how do you guys handle that? If you're at a sporting match and there's parents getting involved or there's things that are going wrong, like...
I don't know what that'll be like.
Well, I only have this Sunday, my son is playing his first proper soccer league match, and I'm not going to be there to support him for this, but yeah, I would, because I'm actually very chilled out about things on the sideline. I see it from their practice matches. Like, again, you're just going, there's 6. Relax. Nobody cares.
My nephew one time was playing a soccer match in London, and they actually got hammered. His team were like, his coach was this middle-aged woman, and she was on the sideline having a smoke, and like, they haven't even trained, they just turn up and play, you know, and like, they were playing against this other team from like, they trained at the West Ham Academy. They're in like the best outfits, all like cut slick style hairs, and they got hammered. It was like 18-0 or something. And I ended up refereeing like half of the match because, you know, it was like volunteer with someone referee, and then like, I ended up getting aggressive with one of the coaches because at the end of the match it was like, what's the score? And I was like, it's 18-0, you know. It's like, are you sure it's not 19? Are you sure it's not 19? Like, he wanted the extra goal. Like, the kids were all standing there, you know, like, and I gave him a look like I was going to go through him, you know what I mean?
Please tell me you were doing everything in your power to get the other team get a goal. Like,
oh yeah,
you were the most biased. You were that biased ref in the hockey match.
But like,
what an asshole, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I think most people. I was at a game at the weekend. A mate of mine, his son was playing. It must have been like, to know, under 8s or 9s, and again there was like a mix of boys and girls, and they were all sort of going for it. But like, his kid was just really looking for a bit of enthusiasm and a bit of encouragement and a bit of a pat in the back. That's all he wanted out of it. Like, he wasn't... I don't think this kid, like, you know, I'd say the same applies for most kids, that you're not really...
Well, now hang on. So we've got 2 elite athletes here, so you guys must have been pretty competitive as kids, right? Mm-hmm. There's somewhere along the way some coach goes, you need to knuckle down here, right?
Yeah, there is, like, there would have been a bit older than that now, though, like, you know, probably around 12 or 13 that my basketball coach was kind of saying, you know, you're good enough at this, you need to start maybe looking at getting up early, getting extra shots in, go to the gym. Didn't have to tell me too much now, like, you know, and I was like, my dad was kind of gone from us at kind of 12 from a sporting point of view, and my mum left us at it, so I never had that parent on the sideline that was being you know, my dad would have been chirping in the odd time, and I didn't really like it.
Yeah.
So, you know, from my point of view, I always found that, you know, I will always I'll talk to my kids when they get home and whatever, casually about it, but I think it's important to kind of let them feel out the coach, because then it's like, when I do my basketball camp, the parents are like, the kids always listen to you, they don't listen to me at all. And I'm like, yeah, that's because you're their parents. They're hearing you every single day. So I think always that it's good to let kids listen to coaches and tell them to listen to their coaches, and don't kind of never undermine a coach, I would say, at that age.
And I think I know from like being involved in sport and watching boys who come up with me at my age, and then the ones who had the pushy parents who are really good, really young, they never come through and make it out because they have too young, and there's so much pressure on them, and they kind of get burnt out from being so dedicated so young. Like for me, until I was about, I'd say 13, 14, 15, it was just about having fun.
Yeah, and enjoying it.
Part that I was good at it was just whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't have liked it if I was losing as much. I probably wouldn't have stuck at it as much. But
yeah.
My dad was just a driver. He just drove me, never pushed me, never, you know. There was the odd day when I'd say like, oh, I don't feel like going to thing. He knew I was just being lazy. He'd say, no, come on, you're getting in the car now. But other than that, there was no like, no like living through me in a sense. You know what I mean? It was just like, this is what you do. If you want to do it, go and do it. And I always find that maybe that's something that I'll have to learn that. Let them be who they're going to be. Don't push them, but don't push them when they need it.
There are some like high-profile examples of where pushy parents like really works. Like the Williams, Tiger Woods, Andre Agassi. I'm sure there's a list as long as your arm of where pushy parents actually works, but it just seems to be, I don't know, certainly from when I was growing up to now, it just seems to be like just a thing not to do.
Would you, I don't know, I'm not sure, I can't say it for but a lot of the time, I know in boxing, when the dad is the coach, those relationships are not always the healthiest or not always the best in terms of being a father and a son. But I don't know.
I think you hear about all these high-profile ones, as you've mentioned there, but I'd say there's thousands that went the opposite way, and went the opposite way downhill hard, where the kid actually probably ended up just not playing anymore, didn't enjoy it, you know, almost maybe sometimes embarrassed. I'd be at games sometimes where I'd look at the kid's reaction, and they'd almost nearly be embarrassed at maybe something that the parent was roaring on.
I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary on Victoria Pendleton.
No.
It was released just before the London Olympics in 2012, when she ended up in sort of one of the stars for the British team, and she had the pushiest father of all time. Basically, he was an amateur cyclist back in the day who never made it and wanted to try and live his success, or live her success through him. So when he was about, I think 10, they'd go out on a Sunday cycle, and they'd go about 10, 15k, and then he'd just go and cycle as fast as he could, and she'd have to try and keep up. Otherwise, she was just lost in the middle of nowhere. And that was the training.
And then she wins gold at the Olympics, and she's like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. Or does she hate him forever?
I'm fairly sure she hates him forever.
Well, that's a really interesting episode of Dadcast for Daughters there. Plenty of food for thought there, and we will be discussing some of the points brought up there with our two very special guests here. We're joined by Máire O'Connor. She's the CEO of the Federation of Irish Sport, and Sarah Colgan as well from Along Came a Spider, and one of the brains behind the 20 by 20 campaign. Thank you very much for coming in to join us this morning, ladies.
Thanks for having us. Thank you.
Now, we were just discussing there, Sarah, one of the inspirations behind 20 by 20 was you were looking at your own daughter growing up and wanting to support her to stay in sport.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the very first seed came as I was frantically leaving the house one Saturday morning with my 3 kids and grabbing jerseys and gum shields and football boots. And I was scrambling out the door, and my daughter kept moaning at me about not wanting to go. And I just thought on autopilot, fine, it's not worth the battle. You know, I'm not going to push her, but there's no way I'm letting her brother give up. And I couldn't believe that I'd had the thought when I caught myself, because I don't believe in that at all. But I was willing to push him and encourage him and just let it slide with her. And so in that moment, I decided, okay, I'm going to go about a totally new approach as a parent. And I encouraged her and I rewarded her, and, you know, different set of criteria, I suppose. And she is a little powerhouse now. And, you know, the difference it's made is genuinely unbelievable. So that was, I suppose, the starting point for 20 by 20 with Heather Thornton, who co-founded Along Came Spider with me. And then we joined up with Mary O'Connor and the Federation of Irish Sport, and it's been an incredible partnership since, and it's really got off the ground.
It's funny, Mary, what Sarah was saying about that, because in my other life I work in sports psychology, and I learned very, very quickly that boys and girls are motivated very different ways. Boys kind of go and join sport to make friends, whereas girls need to have friends to go and play the sport. And I think sometimes maybe that's why we lost girls over the years, because we didn't appreciate that boys and girls do sport for different reasons when they're very young in particular.
Yeah, a famous coach in Australia quite recently actually said that girls need to feel like they belong to play well, while boys need to play well to feel like they belong. And I think that's really, really true. I think Ireland, in terms of the formalised sport for girls in Ireland, is in its infancy. I think it's changing. I think we're in a good space now, and today is a really exciting day for the campaign. And I think there's so many opportunities now for girls and women in Ireland to become active in sport, not in the way we used to have when we were growing up. It's not rigid, it's more relaxed. There's an opportunity to participate recreationally and participation based, as well as competitively if you want to.
Yeah, and what's your hopes for behind the hashtag Show Your Stripes?
I suppose we were talking about this earlier on. Our hopes are that obviously the first phase of the campaign was the awareness piece. Today we can already see that it's trending on Twitter. We're asking people to actually pledge a commitment to improving the opportunities for girls in sport, or obviously as well being active themselves in sport. It's not just about the elite, it's about everybody. It's about the mum who's driving her daughter to school this morning. It's about everybody being involved in this campaign.
Yeah, and I think, even the reason for starting it off is, Ireland is a sport-obsessed nation. We're absolutely mad about sport, but it's men's competitions and male teams that are part of our cultural DNA in terms of what we unite around as a nation to watch and to follow. And that's obviously men's sport has had a head start, and that's already, you can see that changing in terms of the success stories and the skill that's out there of female athletes on the world stage. Like I could name 20 right now, Mary could name more. But culturally, it's not something we've made noise about. And so 20 by 20 is about, I suppose, bringing women's sport up to the fore and showing what's out there and what's happening with Show Your Stripes. And Mary's right, it's trending already this morning, and so is 20 by 20, because national governing bodies, the sporting governing bodies, are pledging their support with the hashtag. Elite athletes, and there's great pledges already that have come in this morning in terms of giving a masterclass to girls in sport, or it's coaches and teachers and parents and sports fans to go and see more games, or to share more coverage online, or to encourage their daughter to find a sport she likes.
It's interesting that he says that it is the male teams that sort of bond the nation, so to speak. And obviously the one anomaly to that was the hockey team last summer. Like, I remember watching the World Cup semi-final in a beer garden in Killarney before a Super 8 game. The place was hopping after they qualified for the final. Why was that anomaly so successful?
Because I think that's, we loved doing that, with the women's hockey team, because it had a story and a narrative. There's a process, I suppose, to an athlete or a team, a female athlete or a team becoming a household name, and the hockey had all of those ingredients to set it up perfectly. But as a nation of sports fans, we loved that experience. We talked about it. It really captured our imagination, whatever. So I think the same in terms of 20 by 20's bigger ambition is, if one Six Nations is good, then two Six Nations is better. If there are more competitions and events, male or female, to unite around, it'll be better for us as a society, not just for girls playing and participation. Absolutely. We want to try and create a new norm. In a couple of years' time, we want the word woman to be removed from sport. There's people being involved in sport, and we want to stimulate that conversation. We want to have the difficult conversations. We understand that, people will challenge us on this, but where we are, the 20 by 20 has been embraced. I think we had the platform after the hockey. People were ready to talk about it. The hockey players told their own human stories, individuals as well. That was really important. So I think it's really exciting times, and we just want to play our part in terms of the 20 by 20 campaign to push that message out there and to have those conversations with people.
And do you know what I think was really interesting? I know you've always made this point, Máire, Treasa. I think we were on Pat Kenny together a couple of months ago when you were making this exact point, that I might have even done it there. I might have referred to it as the hockey team last year, because it's a minority sport in the men's version. And I guess that's our own failings as well. But ultimately, as a result of that, we were then judging this by their own standards. We weren't suddenly saying this is the women's version of the men's sport.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at kind of nomenclature and our language and things, you've got the Dublin football team and you've got the Dublin ladies football team, you've got the Six Nations and the Women's Six Nations, or the World Cup and the Women's World Cup. And that, you know, at another level, is, think of the signals that that's sending out. Is that the women's version is just, it's not as good. Yeah. You know, the captain and the lady captain.
Yeah, the lady captain.
She's the captain.
Yeah.
And you're a cricketer if you're, you know, you're male or female. So that's I think, a really important, and I think that's why the potential for the hashtag Show Your Stripes and everybody pledging something has a potential to really change culture on a national level. Because think of the signals it sends out if you are sitting down as a family to watch a women's game, or if you see the rest of your county unite around the women's side as well as the men's. You know, it has a big impact on younger generations.
Yeah, and I think as well in Ireland today, there's so much opportunity for girls to get involved in sport. Like the Federation of Irish Sport has 75 national governing bodies and 26 local sports partnerships. So there's an opportunity for girls and women to get involved in sport on a recreational, as a competitive basis, but also on a team, contact, non-contact, indoor, outdoor. You know, on the water. So there's opportunities there, and what we want to try to do today is, by people showing their pledges, more and more people be aware, oh, that sport, I'm going to try that sport. That's what we want to try and do, is make people more active as well. And that's another aspect of today, is the active schools. We're asking schools all over the country to get active under 20 by 20. So we're looking forward to getting all those social media pieces in.
Because you can see that's the importance, really, is visibility. Like, I've got a t-shirt here now, it's a logo that sticks out, that you remember it, and that's so basic, but it makes such a big difference that things are actually visible, that we can see it. And like you said, if you can't see it, you can't be it. But the logo in itself made a big difference, I think, because it became visible and we automatically tied it in. But it's something, I mean, people say, of course I'd feel strongly about it, I'm a woman. But I think also from a healthcare point of view, because I just think we are really leaving behind the women of Ireland and other countries too, because when we don't have them involved in sport, it's just going to open up the doors to chronic conditions. And like, the top 4 killers are diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, this kind of stuff. And if you're quitting sport by the age of 13, you're not giving yourself that insulation. And that's the deepest level that a campaign like this can make a difference. But the most superficial level is that we're actually making people aware, actually, women's sport is great to watch. I mean, I'm just thinking, even like, give me, if I'm going to watch Ulster football in the men's or Ulster football in the women, I know what I want to watch. It's much more entertaining.
The national sports policy actually speaks about what you're talking about there in terms of the gradients, and at the moment there's a 4.5% difference in gradient between men and women's participation. So the national sports policy actually, but this campaign speaks to the national sports policy. So that's good in the sense that we've got this all society approach. We have a national physical activity plan, we have an obesity plan, so we know the problems are there, and what this campaign is actually challenging a change. And we believe that the change is the responsibility of us all, not just any individual or any group, it's actually everybody. And that's why there's a strength and unity piece with this campaign. All the national governing bodies, all the local sport partnerships have signed up to this campaign because they believe that it'll actually unite and create a kind of a driving force for change. And
I was just going to say, driving force for change. I mean, it's a huge aim, but I think the steps are definitely being made. But let's look at very short term. How can you get involved today?
So today, it's interesting even you're saying about the logo, because the 2 stripes are actually, they're an oblique reference to a double X, which is obviously Roman numerals for 20. But it's also the female chromosome. And I suppose in terms of today and showing your stripes, they're also the 2 stripes for putting on the cheeks. So today, you know, we've been sent in so many posts of teams and athletes with stripes in their cheeks using the Show Your Stripes hashtag. But it's about making a pledge to, you know, go to more female games over the course of the year, or to share more coverage online, or to encourage your daughter in finding a sport that she loves. As Máire says, whether it's a team sport or whether it's frisbee, you know, there's something out there for everybody. I suppose standing up, if you're a fan, if you're a teacher, if you're a coach, or if you're a club, to ensure kind of greater parity with the girls and boys teams.
Well, thank you very much, and of course you can keep an eye on that online, and we have more stuff on Off the Ball coming up today as well, and over the weekend. Keep an eye on the 20 by 20 campaign and the hashtag Show Your Stripes. We've got rugby up next on Off the Ball AM. We've got Alan Quinlan and Ronan O'Gara coming up next, but first let's hear from Eddie O'Sullivan discussing Sean Cronin's omission from Joe Schmidt's Irish squad.
To be fair, he's been hanging in there fighting year after year to try and establish himself, and he's been behind Rory Best, which isn't easy. But yeah, I think he certainly hasn't, let's put it this way, raised his share value last week, and that's why I think he's now not in the squad.
But maybe all the more reason actually to nurse him back to health. You know, arm around the shoulder, Sean, we understand what went wrong, we understand why it went wrong. Devin Toner's a much better option. Do you know what? put it behind you. You're on the bench again for the French game. You're going to come on. You're going to have a great 20 minutes. You're a part of this squad.
Well, yeah, that's a nice conversation. But it's maybe not a realistic one because he would have been back in training. They would have talked to him. I'm sure he's had conversations with Simon. You know, it's not like he just suddenly finds out he's not in the squad. There would have been conversations. But the question marks are, there might have been conversations before the game as well. This is your chance to go in and nail your lineouts. You know, so we're all speculating this, but I think there's been a conversation with them before, during and after. And the notion that, like, put the arm around his shoulder is great. It's a nice thing to do, but we're in a pretty harsh business. If he goes out on Saturday in a huge game, or Sunday, a huge game against France, where he best goes down early, he gets on the field and the lineup goes askew against France, you know, they're the risks involved if a guy is not in the zone, and his confidence can't be high after the last game. So I'd be fair to Joe Schmidt or Simon Eastwood that they're trying to give a sense of insurance around the line-out, and they feel that Sean's not right at the moment. So I think that's the call. And it would be nice to put the arm around his shoulder and tell him he'll be great. But there's a bit of that he's to go off and fix as well. This is not something new for him. It's something that's been there for a while. So I don't think it's harsh, but it's reality. And that's what he said. It's a tough business. And there are risks with trying to rehabilitate him next weekend against France. And those risks might not be worth the overall cost if the line-out went askew again.
Yeah, the big game is coming up here on Sunday, the big match, Ireland against France. Of course, we've got Alan Quinlan here in studio with us. Good morning.
Morning, Máire. Eoin. How are you? Very good, thanks.
Looking forward to the weekend?
Yeah, I am. I'm hoping for a positive, upbeat result, hopefully. A win will do. A good performance would be would kind of top it off, but it's going to be tricky. It's not going to be easy. France will certainly... They certainly take a lot from the performance against Scotland the last day. So we'll see if they can switch it on in Dublin and trouble Ireland.
The market was putting the spread at 16 points earlier in the week, which seems to me to be crazy.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I think France, it'll be quite physical. They have a big pack of forwards. Bastro in the centre, very difficult to stop. You have to have a strategy to try and keep the ball away from him and get in his face. So Dupont and Intermac offer him something different. And when Toulouse came to Dublin in January, I thought Toulouse have a real chance of maybe it was going to be a really tight game, and Leinster blew them away with missing a lot of players. So it'll be a test for Dupont and Intermac away from home, and if they go well, France will play well. But it's an interesting one. I expect Ireland to be better. I hope they're better anyway.
We have live from Christchurch now as well. This is my Eurovision moment. I've always wanted to say this. It's Dublin calling into Ronan O'Gara. He's live from Christchurch. It's 10 o'clock at night there now. And I suppose I should be saying good evening, not good morning. Talking about France there, what are you expecting?
Hi, Máire, Treasa. How are you, lads?
Good.
How are you, Quinny?
We're good. Your phone was a bit quiet this week, Rog. You were kind of... not really connecting with me, showing me any love, so you're on a yellow card.
Did you send him a happy birthday message yesterday, Alan?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, jeez.
Happy belated birthday.
I better say nothing. So, and I'm godfather of his little fella as well. I forget his birthday too. So
it's no wonder the phone went quiet.
I'm back in my box.
Well done. Good work off the ball. I like it. Big game, yeah. I'm looking forward to it because I think, having spent 5 years in France, their psyche is very different to any other, I think, sporting psyche I've been involved in. And the fact that all of a sudden now you kind of nearly think that France are the team that have 20 out of 22 victories, and Ireland are the team that have had one victory in their last 7 or 8 games, judging by some of the, I suppose, outpourings coming out of the French camp this week. But They are a team that can kind of derive confidence from a one day's performance like they did against Scotland. I thought they were quite good actually against Scotland. So I actually think weather conditions will be interesting. I think if it's a dry ball, France have a far better chance. I think if it was wet, I don't think their discipline is anywhere near good enough around offside line, that half metre that's needed around the ruck in terms of for big moments. And also, I think Ireland's handling will be better. But as Quinny said to them, they have a physical pack. I think their midfield is interesting. If which I think Entomac is smart. I think there's a lovely foil between Bastero and Fiku, and Penot is an aggressive runner, and obviously 4 Toulouse guys. That's their ray of hope, the fact that these guys are playing for a confident club, transferring that to test level, and hoping to make an impact in probably a difficult stadium for the French, because the French have great time for the Irish. I think going back a number of years, I think they've been very impressed with, I suppose, how Ireland have been building their consistency levels and their way of playing the game, which France just, I don't think, have the mental discipline for.
It's funny you mentioned the mental discipline, because you're the second Irishman I've heard this week talk about how the French psyche or psychology is very different to ours. Bernard Jackman was speaking as well, and he was saying that they're different. It's not better or worse, he was saying, but they're different. Where do you think that kind of nearly Gallic indifference comes from?
I actually think an awful lot of it probably would be to do with, I think their clubs, they wouldn't have, I would suppose, a caring environment like potentially the one I played in Munster. I think we had a really, really tight group knit of players that played for each other. With France, with the money involved in the club game, the turnover, you could have in some cases, it's not abnormal to have maybe 15 or 20 players leaving a dressing room every season. So how do you actually become close? How do you play for the guy next to you? While in our day, for myself and Quinny in the Munster team, probably 2000, it was probably, if you had even 3 or 4 squad players leaving, it was a tearful farewell dinner at the end of the year. While in France, it's very hard for these guys to have that, I suppose, emotional bond between them, because essentially the stats are great, but you can't measure actually how quickly you can get up off the ground when you tackle a guy. You can, but you'd need a good statistician in terms of, a stop clock on every guy. The little things like that are very hard to calculate mean an awful lot if you repeatedly do it. But I think that's not to say the French guys won't buy in. I think they crave a bit of detail in their game at this stage. They have a lot of really, I think, genuine players who want to get better and are seeking, I think, coaching of the highest level. So in that regard, it does make for a little bit of a fascinating, I suppose, contrast. But summing up my response to your question, I would think it would be the fact that Irish players, I think the level of trust would be far deeper, because it's built on a year in, year out kind of in the trenches mentality. When you are pushed and it's 78 minutes on the clock and it's a 6-point game, it becomes a mental game in that regard, as you say, like who's going to break first. And I think the more you care about someone, the less likely it is you are going to crack.
Rog, just on I was reading Olivia Mania this morning on the Indo, and he was talking about the optimism that Dupont, Intermac, Ramos has given the French team, and inconsistency and consistency, I suppose, has been a problem for him for a number of years. Do you think, looking in from the outside, that possibly they can build a team around these guys and that they will trouble Ireland and maybe grow in confidence? Or is it too early for them because they were so bad against... You talk about detail as well. Parra came out after the game in Twickenham and said, well, we didn't know what we were doing, we had no structure. How can they switch it on so quickly? And will they?
Well, I think what happened there is probably with an old school model with a great tactician, a strategist in Parra against the new brand of rugby player and athlete in Dupont, who came on and played off the cuff Quinny and actually brought probably 12 tackles. And with the English players, obviously, all the English players were really good for 40 minutes, but Dupont was probably the player of the second half between the both teams. I think himself and Intermac, because you have a fair idea with this for playing with probably halfbacks over the years. It's only after 5 to 10 games they establish a relationship. Games 10 to 20, then you're kind of hoping to establish
and build on it.
Correct. And then after that, you have the possibility of excelling. So these guys, I think they're the right age, they're the right, I think, athletic ability. The only thing that I can't answer is because you don't work with them on a daily basis is what's their capacity to see space or what's their mental capacity in terms of, their capacity to head in a swivel. Are they seeing the bigger picture, or is their vision closed? I think which essentially defines a great thing.
Yeah, should France stick with him? Just being the devil's advocate. If Sunday didn't go well for him, I think you know more about it, obviously. Should they try and build around these guys? Because that's what I met some ex-French players in the game, when France played Scotland, and they were all saying Ntamack, Dupont, they have to stay with him. I'm just interested to know.
Well, that's the combination. But I also too, like France, if you're looking to buy a 9 for the World Game, go to France. They have bucket loads of great 9s.
But they don't have 10s.
Exactly, because the 9 over there is looked as the 10. So when the kids are young, they want to be the kind of game controller, and the 9 is the game controller in France. So you look at Machinot, Serge, Dupont, Para. You look at someone like Cockett, who's South African, but he's playing for France, and he's not there. But Cockett would have is a serious athlete, competitor, goal kicker. I would say he'd be in the Irish squad, and he's probably 5th or 6th choice in France. So, like, in terms of the raw ingredients, it's there. The 10s they're struggling with, most definitely. Tranduc is 32, and I'd say the horse has bolted in that regard in terms of having a sustained charge at test level again. But Ramos, I think Ireland would probably potentially go after him. I think he's a good counter-attacking place, but I would say Ireland this week, I reckon, he's small enough, he's sprightly, he's got good feet in him, but I think defensively he could be exposed. But I like the 9, 10, 12, 13.
Okay.
I think Bastro will have his critics, but Quinny, if you play if you have a smart 10 and you know how to use them, like the reality is you got whatever it is, 130 kgs coming at you. Very hard to stop.
Yeah, very difficult. And if their line-out functions, I think, because he loves that charge straight off the 9, off the back of line-outs and stuff like that. So that'll be kind of crucial, I think. And that physicality
especially
is
with
something.
The risk too, as you said, the risk too of, like, you got to tackle under the ball now. So the wave probably before was to trying to take him high, but anything there, I think, especially in Ireland, how disciplined they are. But geez, if you go low and you get it wrong, you're going to get knocked out.
Yeah, you'd be well offside anyway if he was carrying the ball. You'd be sneaking about 4 or 5 yards by the time he gets it. But anyway.
No, I'd be playing a man on. I'm all over their 10.
Yeah.
Leave 12 for 12.
Yeah.
Ronan and Steve Hansen down there obviously made headlines this week in an Irish context, saying that whoever won the game in November was always going to be viewed as the number 1 team in the world and everyone is going to chase them, and he reckons that we can't handle being the hunted rather than the hunter near the top of the world rankings. What do you make of those comments?
Yeah, I think it's the mind games have started. Obviously he's still probably perturbed by what happened in November, so he's, I suppose, releasing the pressure on his own team, which is a smart move. But it is a different psychology, and I think the guys on the New Zealand team would refer to that every game they play, the opposition raise their performance by 20%, and I think there's a great challenge in being the champions, and it's a little bit like at club level in Super Rugby with the Crusaders. A team season can be saved by beating the champions. So. What happened? Am I gone?
Your voice is still here. Oh, your vision is not. But we'll work away until we get Ronan's lovely visage back again. We'll throw in the French word there since it's a Sunday. So, Alan, I suppose the big question is, I've often wondered this, and you've been in a better position to answer this, is how do you prepare for a team like France when you never know what team? Because especially Joe Schmidt, he loves to be prepared.
I think you try, and any time I've ever been involved against France, you're very.
I think we've ROG back because I keep going with.
You're very, very aware that if they get a bit of time and space and they're allowed to play, they can be very flamboyant. And I think the first try that Intermac got against Scotland was a brilliant counter-attack, and Rog mentioned Ramos. If you kick poorly to him, he wants to run back. He made a line break. A couple of rucks later, Intermac has gone under the post. So you're always conscious of that offloading game. Try and tag the ball, be physical with them, and stop them getting that flamboyant feel to a performance, and put them under pressure, because it's the old Jack Charlton statement, isn't it? Put them under pressure and force errors and mistakes, and hope then that, you know, when you have the ball, that you will kind of tire them out after 15, 20, 25 phases, that they just lose their shape a little bit. But I tell you, the first 5 phases, if you're soft with France, they can hurt you. They can physically get over the gain line, Bastro, Fiku, and they can do something off the cuff that's brilliant. You want to try and bring them into the double figures of having to attack or defend, because that way they lose a little bit of shape, and the fitness element comes into it, and the desire and all that kind of stuff. But if they get on the front foot, they're very dangerous.
Clearly, someone thinks that it can be a big win for Ireland at the weekend, and like we've seen recently, France got absolutely torn to shreds by England's kicking game. Like, there is the tendency here, Ronan, that if Ireland's kicking game is on song here, it's a huge, huge win for Ireland potentially.
Well, what do you mean by like huge win in terms?
Sorry,
of
a huge positive. A huge positive, I should say. I'm not
on the scoreline.
Are they looking for you, Eoin, maybe that Ronan's line?
His line is gone. He's not playing the broadband in New Zealand.
So obviously, when you look at the market, the fact that it was a 16-point handicap, to me initially said this is absolutely crazy, because there's no way we can beat anybody by 16 points at the moment. But is that, I wonder, hooked on the idea that Ireland's halfbacks might finally find their feet? Because if they do, that is clearly one of the areas where we can desperately hurt them.
Yeah, I think it's too much to expect this really brilliant performance from Ireland on Sunday, because of some of the troubles they have had, and maybe the resistance they've encountered. So France will be no different. They'll try and rattle Ireland physically and get at them, but we need to be better at our kicking game. Our kick chase, we need to contest in the air, we need to get a return from that. We probably need to kick tactically smarter to play in the opposition half, and because I think that's an area that's let us down. The turnovers, just being a little bit sloppy with the ball. And to be fair, these players are working incredibly hard, and the detail that Joe Schmidt has given them, and they just got into a little bit of a rut where they're getting massive pressure off who they play. So France will do the same. I think Ireland need to be fairly pragmatic on Sunday, and I'll be happy with that. Grind out a win, 18, 12, whatever, 5, 6 points. It could be better, and I would, in fairness, Ireland would probably have a trick or two up their sleeve with regard to some of those strike plays that they have. But any sort of a win for me on Sunday is a good win, because this is a good French side now, and there's a lot of good athletes on that side. Getting a big score against France, and they'll be so much better than they were in Twickenham. I think it's a different team now, and any sort of a win is a good win. And then go to Cardiff, and you can kind of take the shackles off a little bit in Cardiff and say, let's go for a 4th win in a championship. And you can imagine that scenario on Monday week, if we're here chatting about, well, Ireland have won 4 games in the championship, and they've had this kind of trauma and distress and pressure and anxiety, and we've got 4 wins. It'd be an incredible return. Even 3 wins would be good, with a really good performance in Wales, and a good battle there, because it's a real 50-50 game, that one. So there's still a lot of positives they can gain out of it. I think they will be better. 13 of these guys started against England, so they'll not allow the same physicality and the same issues arise again.
I think we have Ronan back on again. Ronan, are you there?
I am.
Oh, brilliant. If you remember there, you're just about to jump down Owen Sheahan's throat, if I can just remember correctly.
Yeah, no, I think they'll go about, I think Ireland will go about it differently at the weekend. I actually think they'll try and run France off their feet and do the damage in the last 15 minutes. So I think they're going to try and play high tempo ball and play for long periods of time. Dry game, I think they'll actually just try to physically put France in a position physically and mentally that they now wouldn't be able to handle. The top 14 is no practice ground for Test rugby. I suppose the jump in standard from what a lot of the club players in France are playing and not many of their clubs are involved in top 14, in European Cup. You have Toulouse, obviously, and Racing, but I think Ireland will look to go after them with a lot of tempo, in the fact that I think they're very, very different. France and Stade de France than France in the Aviva, in Twickenham. I think they don't have the mental capacity to challenge Ireland in that regard. I think they'll try and hang in there, but if Ireland went to go, I agree with Owen. I think if Ireland got to 10 points, carnage could take place. That's if it's a dry day.
Has anybody seen the weather forecast?
I just checked it there now. There's going to be rain from about 12 to 2. They're not heavy showers, but there is rain, showers it's saying, and then from 3 o'clock it's just cloudy. It's going to be dry for the game as regards, it's not going to be raining for the game, but it'll be greasy, so a little bit windy and blustery now, so I want a job as a weatherman as well, Máire.
You'd be very good. Shaft in the Gaeilge, we might get you a job on TG Cahir.
Jeez,
how's your Gaeilge, Ronan?
He was a good scholar in school, weren't you?
The sugar hunter. So you've got your English, you've got your Francais, and now you've got Gaeilge as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, yeah, like it's we were just discussing here, it's also International Women's Day. We speak about Ireland, we go from tangent to tangent. Well,
Colgan, they're Ashkody and Corkig.
And Ashkody, Cork.
And McCarthy.
And you Doyle away.
Oh,
good Lord.
I loved it. I loved those speeches. Teddy Mack, wasn't it, in 1990?
What's your favourite Irish language speech? Do you remember?
The speeches. I love when whoever...
probably Sean O'Halpine is going to say now.
He walks or Tomás O'Leary, didn't he? He had a good shuffle of the midriff, didn't he, for his speech when he lifted the minor cup. I love it. It's great, actually, that whoever walks up to Hogan, the stand, to lift the cup, I think it's a special day to be Irish that day, watching that. With the boys, they get the all the note and they get the speech slipped to them. It's very, it's a great occasion, I think. I love watching it.
Well, I'm telling you, we've gone from weird tangents this morning. We spoke about the Irish language. We've spoken about Jersey Boys. Have you ever seen Jersey Boys, Ronan? The musical?
No, I don't do movies, would you believe? I'm full on rugby sport nerd.
Give us a prediction before Sunday, very briefly, because we want to move on to a real star and Serge Betsen in a few minutes.
Thrown down.
I would say, I think I'm by 17 points.
Oh, good.
Wow.
I hope you're right.
We hope you're right too. Ronan, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks,
from
Rog.
Christchurch. Agus.
We didn't get any chance to talk about the role of the
well, look, Ronan, if you're here and if you're willing to talk about it, I'll always happily talk about women's sport. We were talking about Dadcast for daughters earlier, and I know you've a 10-year-old daughter. What are you doing? How are you showing your stripes?
Because actually, I forget your guest's name, but it wasn't the...
was it Mary O'Connor, perhaps?
No,
or Sarah Colgan?
She was nearest to you, Sarah Colgan. Her story really resonated with me about leaving the daughter off and going kind of harder on her son, wasn't it, to make him do it? Wasn't that?
That was it. That was Sarah, yeah.
Yeah, resume. And it's good now to hear that, because I would have fallen into that trap as well, because the boys play rugby in France, so it's a kind of a team sport. But Molly wants to play mixed rugby over here, my 10-year-old. So what do you say to that? Some boys would be full on tackling her. Jeez, it's a bit risky, isn't it?
At 10 years old, is it? Physically, is that much difference?
She's probably more physical than her dad was when he was 10.
So, like, what are you doing? Are you going to make sure that you don't fall into those kind of traps, Ronan? Because it's easily done.
No, it's good now, because, well, like, to be fair, Molly's mum, Jess, like, they do swimming, gymnastics, tennis, horse riding, and then over here it's great. They have kind of children's triathlons and duathlons, but, like, you know what I mean. We don't push them too hard, but I think the actual benefits of sport, even at that age, is hugely important, isn't it? So everything in moderation, obviously, but we're trying to give an appreciation, I suppose, of just how you feel better when you exercise, even at that age, and they'd agree with you, because it's I suppose about, you'd know more than anyone, I suppose, it's about shaping the brain at that age and creating good habits and good behaviours. So that's...
Well, look, I'd say she's probably in the right house for that kind of role modelling. Listen, Ronan, go mil mahagat. We'll let you get into the lab now. Agus ich was longer forward. And we'll get Serge on, hopefully. Yes, Alan, you're laughing away here.
I can't converse in Irish, I'm sorry with you.
It's all right, we won't hold it against you.
I know, yeah.
So, like, his prediction there, was it 17 points he was saying? What do you think?
Well, I don't know. It's hard. I'm just nervous about this. I think it's just that unpredictable stuff that we're talking about at the start. I think France could be very dangerous and very good. And if they can build on what they did in Paris the last day, well, it's a real tight game. If Ireland improve, which they're capable of doing for sure, and we've some world-class players on our side, and they haven't become bad players overnight, of course they could have a very dominant performance. But it's a real intriguing one. People are asking me, will we beat France? Will we beat France? I think we'll beat them. Going for a scoreline of that much, I wouldn't. I'd go for 8-10 points, and I think that's a good return for us. And like I say, tick the box, be pragmatic, be good, cut out the mistakes, play in the right areas. And of course, scores could come, but I just think this is there's a better French group here, and they're going to be a bit robust, not porous like they were in Twickenham.
How do you think Sean Cronan's feeling right now?
I think Sean Cronin is, he'll be disappointed. It's been a tough 2 weeks probably, because I watched his body language coming off the field, and whether it's right or wrong, or whether it's his fault or not, the hooker gets lumped with the blame when the lineup doesn't function well. And I've said it in commentary, and I've said it since. It's some of the lineouts that were lost, I think it was 4, and they were in crucial kind of areas. It wasn't all down to Sean Cronin. It was down to timing, lifting, guys getting the decisions not correct fully, slow movement. But he pays the price, and that's kind of the tag you have to take with you after the game. So he's a good character, and I think he will respond and bounce back. And I think it's how he responds now. To be fair to Rob Herring, who's been called in, he was brilliant for Ireland when he started, when he was involved in a tour in Australia. He was superb.
He deserves a chance.
Yeah, and maybe it's just keeping them all on their toes, I think, and having that involvement. And Niall Scannell is he number 2 now? Probably. So look, Sean Cronin has responded before. I think he's well capable of doing it again. I think he's too good a player to kind of dismiss him. And
we now have Serge on the line as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, Serge.
Morning, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I was talking to your good friend Thomas Castanet this morning, and on my breakfast show, and I know I was tormenting you to try and get you on her, but the optimism is, it seems to be back. I was in Paris when France beat Scotland. I was also in Twickenham when I saw some of your tweets and some of your reaction to that. Just sum up where France are at the moment and how positive you feel after beating Scotland the last day.
Yeah, I think everyone was really disappointed after the game at Twickenham. We knew France were going to be in very difficult time with the calendar of the Six Nations. Playing against Wales the first game was something really bad, because we played a very amazing first half and we lost in the second half, and we lost the game. Following playing at Twickenham, it was disastrous. Then everyone was feeling that, how can we played that badly? And suddenly against Scotland, I think the management maybe changed a little bit, and at some point the player took on board some mistake they made, and they changed some little things, like the day of the selection, they asked for the squad to be made a name earlier,
yes,
therefore to get them time to be prepared for the game. And for the first time, I definitely believe that the management selected the player at their position, which it make things easy as well. When Dupont and Tamac play 9 and 10, and they play at the club Toulouse together, they know each other really well. That suddenly you can see the way they can come up with a very, very interesting game plan. Also, Ramos, the fullback of Toulouse as well. You see the game he played against Scotland. That amazing try and Tamac score from the counter-attack was just amazing.
Superb try.
Yeah, therefore I'm really feeling better, proud of what France can achieve for the Six Nations.
As a former French legend, Serge, and I think you deserve that title, do you want to see consistency from this French side? Is enough at this stage? It's been 6-7 years of this inconsistency from France, a disconnect between the clubs and the national team. Is enough? Do you want to see that consistency now? Because there should be optimism. Your under-20s won the Six Nations. They won the Junior World Cup in the summer. There's incredible players in France. Do you want to see that starting to change now and come through and have some consistency and have France back where they deserve to be, I think?
Yes, definitely. We're one of the countries.
Have we lost him? I think we have. Yeah. So do you want to maybe elaborate on... Oh, no. We may have him back. I just think his line is just a little bit weak and it keeps coming and going. But
nobody's paying the broadband these days, you know. They all have the dongles,
he's back.
maybe.
He's paid his broadband. He'll want to shake that accusation back.
I'm back now.
No problem, Serge.
Continue, Serge. Sorry.
Yeah. I definitely believe that we know the problem is there for a long time, and it's definitely something I can understand the mentality of people around federation, around the French league. When you see how Ireland, you guys are progressing, are being
the structure is good here,
yeah, and I definitely believe we got some good example we can follow. We don't have that mentality, but again, it's difficult, but frustrating. But I definitely believe, at some point, Bernard Laporte, who now the French president of the federation, will push things to make them change. But at the end of the day, the real problem is the players are in the middle of both institution, league and federation, and they have to do their best to play at their best level. And I always say that I don't have time to blame the players because I know what it feels to be in that position. It's for institution to make things change, and it's very, very difficult. You know what it is when you have to talk to people who are in charge. It takes a lot of time. Therefore, player, maybe ex-player, we don't have time. We need to keep move on for our life, and now time is definitely to be real professional people around the players to make sure things will change.
Serge, what is the target and the end game for this young French side? Because in Ireland, all the talk is about the World Cup, but it's this year's World Cup. I suspect that 2023 is the year on everybody's lips in France.
Yeah, but I'm really upset when people talking about the 2023, while in a few months we're going to play a World Cup in Japan. I don't have that mentality to say, okay, give up that World Cup and we're going to focus on 2023. It's not that. You can't think like that. I don't think like that because if you want to prepare 2023, you need to make sure 2019 will be in the good position for the players, for getting experience, for getting to understand what high level is about. You can't just suddenly cut something and to say, okay, we're going to focus on this. It's not happen like this. I think you need to learn, you need to understand what's going on, and you need to grow a team of players in order to get them to be able to maybe win the World Cup. But today, I'm talking just about feeling confident. We knew that Six Nations.
I think. Apologies, Serge. I think the line is coming and going. Listen, thank you very much for your time. We do appreciate you joining us this morning on OTB AM. Thank you very much, Serge, for your time. Well, Alan, what do you think of that?
Well, he's right about France. There's no reason why they can't be very good in it's a little bit early, and that's what I was asking ROG earlier about, suddenly how can you go from being so abysmal against England to a good performance and expect them to be brilliant. Like, they could go a step backwards on Sunday. They could go a couple of steps forward, but I think what he's saying is, they should. Laporte, and I read some pieces and some interviews he's done over the last 6 or 8 months where he's saying 2023 is the target and we want to be brilliant in France and we want to have this great team. But they have a good World Cup. They're capable of beating anyone, France, and they showed that at 2011 World Cup where they lost 2 pool games and they probably should have won that final against, you remember, against New Zealand?
Yeah, but the thing is then you go 4 years later and a complete meltdown, and Philippe Saint-André sort of, according to reports,
but they're capable of doing that. They're capable of doing it at any stage. So I think if they get their house in order in France with the club v country thing, and Laporte is working hard to try and, align both sets of people, and if they do that, you see with their under-20s, they're consistently good in the Six Nations, and they won the Junior World Cup, so that's something to build on. On Sunday, we'll wait and see. I think we need to ask the questions. We need to say to Intimac and Dupont, hold on a minute, it's going to take you some time. Deny them space and territory, and that's what Leinster did in January in round 5 of Europe. They held on to the ball really well, and they played with that high tempo that Roger's talking about, and they blew them away. So hopefully Ireland will get there on Sunday. I think they need to start the game well. They need to get a feel and have to get a crowd in behind them a little bit. Sunday games, I'm not a huge fan of them. I think the old traditional Saturday ones, but look, it is what it is, and I think it's a home game, and Ireland have to go at it from the start.
Yeah, well, I'm sure maybe Joe Schmidt mightn't mind maybe having the extra prep day as well. But listen, we need to wait and see, because it is going to be hopefully a really exciting and good weekend. Alan Quinlan, thank you very much for your time, and we await to see what happens. Now, we'll move on. Katie Taylor, she joined Nathan on last night's OTB. She'll get a chance to add one more world title to her collection next week. And last night, she spoke to Nathan about embracing the chance to be a role model.
I just wanted to ask you about that side of things and your position in Irish life as a role model, and these surveys are done, I'm sure you see them all the time, where you're the most admired Irish athlete, you're this hero to young girls, not even to just young girls, to young people in general. How aware are you of that, and do you feel a responsibility with that? Because often sports people don't want to be put up as role models. Do you want to be a role model?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously a very positive thing. I would love to be a role model for some people and set a good example, and I think it's a great privilege really to be in this position, and to have an impact on people is absolutely very, very special. I mean, I've always wanted to leave a great legacy in this sport, and just in life in general, to be a great example to people. I think there's so many bad role models out there at the moment, and they're the ones that are usually on the front of the magazines or whatever, but it is great to be a positive role model and to set a good example for those young people. So I hope I never let them down.
Well, speaking of 20 by 20 and women's sport, the Clare Galway Hotel slid into my DMs there while we were on air, and I got a message saying that the hotel sponsors both the ladies and men's club championship advertising on an equal footing, also the All-Star Awards for the last 5 years, and this year they had Rena Buckley as their guest of honour, the only county in Ireland to do so. So they've thrown it down.
Jesus. Hotel sliding into your DMs. I wish I could be that lucky.
They haven't offered me any free rooms though, just saying. I just get being told to point things out. Who does slide into your DMs, Eoin?
Well, we can't be revealing that on air.
Careful now.
I could libel somebody or out somebody even worse.
Darren, how are your DMs looking this morning?
I would prefer not to comment on the current state of my DMs. There's some cobwebs on them. No one slid into them in a while.
Maybe just talk about your headlines though, maybe, just in case.
Sean O'Brien looks set to pay the price for Ireland's current plight. He's likely to be axed for the Six Nations showdown with France at the Aviva Stadium on Sunday. Head coach Joe Schmidt due to name his team just before 2 this afternoon. Reports claim Josh van der Fleer will be selected at flanker with Jack Conan preferred on the bench. Gary Ringrose and CJ Stander expected to return from injury. Keith Earls believes Ireland will be back to their best once they eradicate the unforced errors that have blighted this campaign.
We feel we're training well, but when we get out in the field, there's a game there we're making a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, and look, all we can do is keep going and try and better ourselves, and I suppose preparing the way we can go. And look, I know we haven't been ourselves, but we're creating a lot, and it's going to have to click at some stage. Yeah, no, I just don't want to be outside. It's I think the first time in a while naming the same team for 2 games in a row. Look, they're flying it. They're definitely on the up, and there's a lot of young lads who've come in and brought a freshness to it, with a lot of experienced lads as well. And I think especially Toulouse are flying it in the top 14. I think they're ahead by a couple of points, and they seem to be leading the way. And he's quite experienced. He's come in. He's found form again. So we definitely can't afford mistakes that we've been making, or else we could be behind our sticks quite a bit.
Now, Mikey Drennan has rejected suggestions that he used a technicality to get out of his contract at Sligo Rovers. The Kilkenny native departed the Bitter Red to join St Pat's in the close season. In an interview with Off the Ball recently, the Sligo manager Liam Buckley claimed Drennan and Rhys McCabe were both signed up for the coming season. He says the players used a loophole, though, to get out of their contracts, something Drennan strongly denies.
I was delighted to keep them. I'd be disappointed with both of them having left. They got out in a technicality, and that's the bottom line. So from our end of it, we thought it was in the contract that we were going to keep them. I was delighted to keep them, but unfortunately they've moved. It was their call on it, their choice, but so they got out in a technicality, which does disappoint me, bearing in mind the whole scenario. But look, we've moved on.
The FAI, the sanction, the move, there was nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. We went there on both parties. Like, it was good for both of us. Like, I went on there on it wasn't good money. I went on there on peanuts, and then it worked out good for Sligo. I just wanted to get back in the league, see was I happy, and I was. And look, and then all that kind of stuff, and obviously I wanted a new and improved deal, and that was it.
When Liam Buckley says you got out on a technicality, is that a fair reflection of what actually happened with your own situation when you left Sligo?
No, it's not. No. It's not. I think I'll just leave it at that. Like, but it's not like it's just them. They didn't cover their own ground. And I think that's just it now.
So you weren't signed up. It's not like you broke a deal. It's not like you were signed up for 2 years.
No, 100% no. I wasn't signed up or anything like that. There was nothing. That's the thing that people are just kind of blowing out of proportion, really.
Now, there's more on Off the Ball's League of Ireland podcast. That's on the website offtheball.com. Bows can return to top spot in the SSE Electricity League later. Having dropped their first points of the season at Waterford last week, the Gypsies welcomed Derry City to Dalymount Park. Shamrock Rovers start tonight top of the table on goal difference. The Hoops make the short trip to Richmond Park to face St Patrick's Athletic. Waterford take on the defending champions Dundalk. An away trip to Oriel Park for them, while Finn Harps and Cork City go head to head. Mauricio Pochettino says he is shocked to have been handed a 2-match touchline ban by the English FA. He's described the sanction as completely unfair. The Tottenham manager was handed the suspension as well as a €12,000 fine for angrily confronting referee Mike Dean on the pitch after Spurs were beaten 2-1 by Burnley last month. He will be in the stands for the Premier League games against his old club Southampton and title-chasing Liverpool. Pochettino expressed his sadness at the ban and claims the FA still haven't told him what he did wrong.
No, I am a little bit in shock because I think it's completely unfair. But what I can do now, nothing. Only to accept that. I need to see the reason because still they announce that I'm going to be banned for 2 games, but we don't know still the reason because the letter still not arrived, and I am suspended with 2 games. Banned to be on the touchline, but I don't know the reason yet. I am so curious to see why they decide to do what they do. 2-game ban for me is completely unfair.
Manchester City's dealings have come under scrutiny after UEFA opened an investigation over a potential breach of financial fair play regulations. They will examine allegations published by German magazine Der Spiegel that City systematically broke the rules. The revelations suggest the club officials deceived UEFA for several years, including by disguising the source of revenue from sponsorship deals tied to the club's owners. The club responded by saying Manchester City welcomes the opening of a formal UEFA investigation as an opportunity to bring to an end the speculation resulting from the illegal hacking and out-of-context publication of City emails. The accusations of financial irregularities are entirely false. Rory McIlroy insists he can haul himself back into contention on day 2 of the Arnold Palmer Invitational in Florida. The defending champion is 7 shots behind the leader Rafa Cabrera Bello following a level round par of 72. Graham McDowell holds a share of 3rd place on 4 under. Shane Larry a further 2 strokes behind. McIlroy, though, is confident he'll be in the mix before the weekend. Well, the physical toll that high-level sport takes on women has been laid bare in a new report from the English Institute of Sport. The research has revealed that menstruation, incontinence and breast pain affect the performance of international athletes. 38% of female athletes in a variety of sports in last year's Commonwealth Games suffered stress incontinence during training, while 28% suffered from the same condition during competition. More than 50% reported painful period symptoms and premenstrual tension, significantly higher than the national average. 30% have infrequent or absent periods, which could lead to fertility issues in later life. The Telegraph were the first to carry the findings, which are part of a wide-reaching study into female athlete health. Dr. Emma Ross has been working on the project for 18 months. She believes these previously understudied areas could be part of the reason talented young athletes are abandoning sport. She's quoted as saying this morning in the Telegraph, "You can imagine that things such as stress, incontinence or painful menstrual cycles put up barriers for participation and can make girls drop out. Our approach has been to open up the conversations with everyone involved, athletes, coaches and support staff, and to give them all this information. Fundamental to having this conversation is having the power."
Thank you very much, Darren. That's actually a really interesting thing at the end of, we've seen loads of research done in that subject, not enough, but we're definitely seeing that especially body image plays into this thing, and then you don't realise that an eating disorder or issues with food maybe at the age of 12, 13 could lead you to not be able to have children in your 30s, so it's a really important subject matter.
No problem.
Okay, so that's the end of today's programme. We've got loads coming up though over the weekend on Off the Ball as per usual. Tonight on Off the Ball we've Cliona Foley, she's in presenting. We've got Friday Night Racing with Robbie Power, Rugby with Brian O'Driscoll, and of course the Crappy Quiz on Off the Ball is live again tomorrow on Saturday from 1 o'clock. It's Southampton v Spurs at 3 o'clock on Premier League Live on Today FM with Ian Beach and Gary Breen. And Off the Ball on Sunday is live from 1 o'clock. We've Chelsea v Wolves, Ian Beach is there with Kenny Cunningham. Arsenal against Man United, Stephen Doyle is there with Gary Breen. And of course we'll have Andy Dunn as well at Ireland against France. And we're going to leave you with this today, of course, International Women's Day. We've got another clip here from our special Dadcast for daughters, and this is Andy Lee and Kieran Donaghy. Enjoy agus slán go fóill.
Do the sporting organisations have recommendations for what age to split by gender? Or is it just up to the individual coach, the individual club?
I presume it's up to the individual clubs, and it comes down to...
Because when you do think about it, like splitting them at 6 suddenly gets into the lads' heads that, well, we're doing a different sport to the girls are, and it's automatically put into their head that we're more skilled and we're more talented at it, and that's going to last forever. Whereas, like, you look at something like swimming, like my lads do swimming, and it's a mix of boys and girls. Like, they would never for a second think that we swim separately, or we could be in any ways better, or we would look at it differently. Like, it seems to be a very young age to be...
But if it was a competition, they probably would at some point. They would at some point.
Yeah, but 6 or 7 is very...
It is very young, yeah. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying the comparison is not like the organised football, because the comparison to that is the swimming competition.
Are your basketball camps 50-50, or is it...
Yeah, it's exactly, it's 50-50, and we all do our skills in the mornings, and everybody does them together, and everybody's around the place with the balls. But like, even we were talking earlier on about it's important too to have them to, as you said, to bring him to sports. You know, if we're going to get him into sports, bring him to sports, because it's seeing that it's getting, you don't know when that little kick or when that little buzz is going to come for your 7-year-old or your 5-year-old. We're kind of too young yet, really.
Yeah.
But you know, around that age, taking them to sporting events is important, because, like, you know, you even see the ladies football final last year and the amount of young girls that was at it.
Yeah.
We the Garveys, Warriors and Tralee, the amount of kids at the games is frightening. I'm talking hard with the club at the moment about trying to get a ladies team into Tralee. not because I have a young girl, but because there's so many young girls at the game. I'd like for them to be like Leicester basketball, have a girls' game at 5 and the men's game at 7:30. I'd like that mix. I'd like the girls to be able to come up and watch the women play, and then watch the men play as well, and the boys vice versa. But I think it's important to kind of to show them that, you know, this is taken basketball is taken very seriously, but it's not just taken very seriously for the men, it's taken very seriously for the girls too. So like we've got brilliant lady basketballers from Kerry, but they're all out playing with other clubs. Because there isn't a Super League team in Kerry. Yeah. You know, so we've, you know, Anya McKinnon, Loretta Máire, Emma Sherwood, and teams in Dublin and Cork. You know, and I'd be interested to see if they would consider coming back down to Kerry or moving closer to home if they could play the sport they love and that they've been playing for 10 years at it's there. And I'd love nothing better to be bringing Lola Rose and Indy up to games and in a few years where there was girls. And that used to be the way. When I was very young going to the games, it was Lee Strand ran. And then Garvey's around, and then Lee Strand were the ladies' teams, and they used to always get good crowds. And, but I think it's so much, it's getting more publicity now, and we need to keep that going because it's very important.
On a basic economic level, it's doubling the size of your potential audience. Like, so it makes economic sense, and it obviously makes social sense, and it makes health sense, and it makes it's just the most obvious thing ever, and yet we're kind of everything just moves so slowly. That's the kind of frustrating point.
One good thing about gets a lot of stick. The IBA, the Irish boxing, had the elite senior finals at the weekend, and it was both mixed men and women were competing on the same night. You know, so you had like maybe 2 fights of men, 2 fights of women, and they were kind of mixed. And there was no separation in it, and there was as many young girls in the crowd as there was young boys to watch these boxers, and the amount of inspiration they were getting from the likes of Keely Harrington or Amy Broadhurst, and like you said, your examples are so important and you're heroes. So that's one thing I would commend the Irish Boxing Association on, is that they've always pushed female boxers as much as they have the male.
I normally do Cristiano Ronaldo's celebration. It's where he runs to the corner, turns around and then goes, I love sweating. I don't know why, it just feels good. It makes me feel like I'm on top of the world. Get to be rough sometimes. I like that. To me, football's just football. Yeah, they always go like, oh, you're only girls, you aren't fast, you aren't tough and all. And like, we're actually quite tough. I'm quite a tough person. I think one day we'll probably get there. Maybe in 10 years, if we're lucky, we might. Yeah. I'm going off to play a football match now.